This is a summary of The Dark Side of the Chocolate, which is a movie about a Danish journalist named Mickey who travels to an industry show where all the big chocolate companies are presenting their newest products. At the industry show, Mickey asked people where all the chocolate comes from, and most of the answers was Africa and especially the Ivory Coast, as you see on the map in the PowerPoint. As Mickey heard that the cocoa farmers are using child labor, he starts in Mali, which you see in the map in the PowerPoint, to find out if trafficking of children actually are an issue. Unfortunately, it wasn't hard for him to find the route where the kids from all over the country was transported down to the Ivory Coast. Mickey follows the traffickers into the Ivory Coast to a little city near the border to Mali. In the city, Mickey sees a big amount of kids waiting for a bus which will take them to the southern part where all the cocoa farmers are waiting for them. Mickey travels to the southern part too to visit some of the farms. At the farms, he finds kids, and they are from other countries than the Ivory Coast, and they don't even speak the local language. It's a clear indicator that trafficking is an issue, and worse than that, that child labor is an issue. Mickey both visits one of the grocers in the country and Nestle, the big chocolate company. Both claims that there's no child labor in the farms. But as he shows the clips he have with children working at the farms, the grocer gets a little surprised and said he's not happy that this is reality, but he will try to stop it. However, Nestle is not to reach as tells them that he has seen indicators that the cocoa farmers are filled with children labor. Nestle is not responding, so he goes to Switzerland, where he puts up a big white screen up front Nestle's headquarters to show them the film, but then the police arrives and tell him to shut down.
I would like to make a summary of the second movie, Shady Chocolate. Mickey, the journalist, has been searching for an appointment with Nestle and the other companies in the chocolate industry, but they rejected in the first place. 3 years later, they finally accept and were ready for a meeting. They didn't they didn't want to have it recorded or filmed. Nestle assured Mickey that they do everything possible to help children to get to school and children away from child labor. Mickey would like to go to Ivory Coast and see the projects against the child labor by himself, but the ambassador won't let him. As another solution, he gets his friend to do the job for him within the borders of Ivory Coast. Mickey visits an association called Source Trust, which can find information about the peasants who has garnered selected cocoa beans. And Mickey's friends visits a farmer school where they are taught to cultivate their crops and good working morale. The farmer schools are paid by the companies, and as you can see in the picture on the screen, this is what a farmer school looks like. Um, and yeah, Mickey's friend visits a village where ICI had promised to build 5 classrooms, but stopped the project and left after they were done with 3 of the 5 classrooms, and they never came back. There are too many kids for the 3 classrooms, and then some of the kids don't go to school and work instead. Mickey's friend decides to go to one of the cocoa plantations where UTC guaranteed non-child labor, and as a fact, the first person they met was a kid doing work on the plantations. And that's horrible. Yeah, and UTCC and the chocolate producers are unconscious about the plantations, no doubt about that. Or maybe they just don't tell the truth about the child labor, if they know about it, of course. In the movie, Mickey is saying that the journalist Orange wasn't able to find a project which was working perfectly as the international chocolate industry had promised. That might be the reason why the companies didn't want to talk to Mickey about the tapes he had collected about And yeah, Nestle approached Mickey under the research. However, they got knowledge of his recording and wanted to view and comment on the projects. They made an agreement by talking at Nestle's head office. So they did. Um, but Mickey contacted Nestle 3 times before, and the first time they didn't even want to talk to him. And the second time he approached them, they wanted to talk without a camera. But the third time they allowed it, and they made an appointment with the camera. Yes, and the 4 different persons you can see on the screen is a person from Nestle, ICI, Rainforest Alliance, and UTZ. So yeah.
What is CSR? In international context, CSR means corporate social responsibility. In Europe, the definition of CSR is a company's voluntary work to integrate social and environmental considerations to the company's business activities. The central point of CSR is that it's not a lawful need, it's self-imposed all the way. CSR is also in cooperation with the company's business-to-business partners. The reason why almost all of the big companies are writing the CSR report is because of its PR function. It makes all the customers believe that the companies are doing something good for the environment.
Athens Global Compact. In Athens Global Compact, there's 10 principles telling what the company should do and things they should avoid and fight against. One of those says that they should efficient work against child labor, which chocolate companies are definitely not. They're doing a little, but it's not good enough. The projects that they have started are not even close to be finished. So looking on the 5th guideline, we can see that they are not following it, as they are not working against child labor efficient. When you sign these 10 principles, you're bound to tell the world around you what you're doing to follow these guidelines. The problem is that nobody is checking wherever what the company says and writes is true. This is why it's so easy for the chocolate companies to make it look like that the farmers have some good conditions when they don't. And now I'll read out loud the 10 principles. Principle 1. Businesses should support and respect the protection of internationally proclaimed human rights. And Principle 2. Make sure that they are not complicit in human rights abuses. Principle 3. Businesses should uphold the freedom of association and the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining. Principle 4. The elimination of all forms of forced and compulsory labor. Principle 5. The effective abolition of child labor. And Principle 6. The elimination of discrimination in respect of employment and occupation. Principle 7. Businesses should support a precautionary approach to environmental challenges. Principle 8. Undertake initiatives to promote greater environmental responsibility. And Principle 9. Encourage the development and diffusion of environmentally friendly technologies. Principle 10. Businesses should work against corruption in all its forms, including extortion and bribery. And then avoiding child labor. What can the companies actually do to stop child labor? The companies can give the cocoa farmers more money for the cocoa beans so they can afford to employ a sustainable workforce. The companies can also use their negotiating strength to tell the peasants that if the companies discover child labor in the farms, the company will stop the cooperation with the supplier. The company must make it clear to them so they are not in doubt. The companies can hire some security checks to keep an eye on the farms sometimes, so they ensure them that there will be no abuse of child labor. But all in all, we don't see it as the company's fault. Of course, they should do something about it, but we don't think that it will help that much before the third world has increased the standard of living. The Ivory Coast itself has to realize that child labor is a horrible thing. We can't force them to that. Their society and standard of living has to develop and increase before the companies for real can do a difference. All the suppliers are doing child labor. Some are just better hiding it than others. The chocolate companies cannot afford to suspend every supplier, because then they won't be able to make any chocolate. We think that we should start helping develop the country instead of the business. Developing the country and the society is where the companies can do a serious difference.